and historians. Close-up of the 1988 10 centimo coins obverse. Rotate to show gleaming inscription Republica NG, Pilipinas and profile of Francisco Baltasar. At just 10 centavos, it was never designed to be a treasure, yet today, rare surviving specimens in pristine condition are fetching astonishing amounts. Even thousands of US dollars at international coin auctions show old footage, photos of Philippine economy in the late 1980s, President Corazon Aquino's era post-Marcos transition. The year 1988 marked a time of rebuilding. The Philippines was recovering from political turmoil and economic instability. Coin production was steady, but budget-conscious. Lower mintage of smaller denomination coins like the 10 centimo made them less available, especially in uncirculated condition. Overlay a graphic showing the obverse and reverse sides of the coin. Highlighting features Republica NG Pilipinas Francisco Baltasar, and reverse text Banco Central NG Pilipinas, crafted mostly in brass-bladed steel. The 10 centimo coin was part of the Flora and Fauna series. The obverse bears the profile of Francisco Baltasar, the Philippine literary genius behind Flora and Fauna. His legacy, immortalized in copper, became a symbol of national pride. Highlight reverse side of the coin with a stylized Catman flower and central bank seal. On the reverse, the Catman flower, rare and indigenous, was chosen to remind citizens of the Philippines' rich biodiversity. Below it, the Banco Central seal emphasizes the coin's official status. Minted with purpose and pride, display various conditions of the coin worn. Average, mint state, emphasize brilliant uncirculated coins under strong light. But what makes the 1988 10 centimo so valuable? The secret lies in condition and scarcity. Mint state MS coins, those never circulated, with no scratches, stains, or wear, are exceedingly rare. Only a few remain, often hoarded by collectors decades ago. Show actual auction site screenshots or eBay listings with high prices for rare 1988 coins. One perfect example in MS67 recently surfaced in a private collector's listing for over $3,000. The seller cited rarity, excellent strike, and full original luster, a trifecta in numismatics. Animate side-by-side comparison with later years of the 10 centimo, pointing out subtle differences. Subtle differences separate the 1988 issue from others. Slight design variances, deeper strikes, and a firmer brass sheen make this year stand out. Counterfeiters have taken note too, so authentication is crucial. Zoom into a coin grading service label. NGC MS67 and PCGS certified coins. Certified coins graded by NGC or PCGS offer authenticity and value assurance. The highest graded pieces become the crown jewels in Southeast Asian coin collections. Montage of global P4 issue was part of this modernization push, with coins minted primarily for circulation, especially for small transactions. Portrait features Juan Luna, a Filipino painter, patriot, and political activist during the Spanish colonial period. Republica NG Pilipinas encircles the top. Year of issue 1994 appears at the bottom. Symbolism. Juan Luna is most famous for his painting Spoliarium, which became a symbol of Filipino nationalism. The reverse shows the Waling-waling, the Andesanderiana, a rare and highly prized Philippine orchid. 25 centimo is boldly displayed, with Banco Central NG Pilipinas inscribed around the top edge. Flora significance. The Waling-waling is regarded as the queen of Philippine flowers, and symbolizes the richness of Philippine biodiversity. Most coins were minted by the BSP and intended for wide national distribution, used frequently in jeepney fares, sari-sari store transactions, and daily purchases during the 1990s. Its bright golden color made it easy to distinguish from other small denominations. Common in circulation, but uncirculated or mint condition coins can fetch higher prices among collectors. Estimated collector value as of 2025. The 25 centimo coin from this series was eventually replaced in 1995 by the BSP series. With controversial year in Philippine history, President Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law on September 21, 1972. Just months after this coin was released, the declaration marked a shift to authoritarian rule, and the economic and political changes of this era affected all aspects of Filipino life, civil unrest, but also during infrastructure building and urban development. Pushed by the Marcos regime, the 1972 10 centimo coin is part of the government's nationalistic movement that aimed to promote the use of the Filipino language. Prior coins bore English inscriptions like Central Bank of the Philippines, but the Filipino series replaced these with Filipino terms like Republica ng Pilipinas and Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Apolinario Mabini 1864–1903, who appears on the coin, was one of the greatest intellectuals of the Philippine Revolution. Despite being paralyzed from polio, he served as the first Prime Minister and Secretary of Foreign Affairs in the First Philippine Republic. His inclusion on the 10 centimo coin reflects the country's respect for his ideas, independence, and integrity values. The Marcos government tried to align itself within the early years, even as political suppression grew. In the 1970s, the 10 centimo coin still had purchasing power. It could buy small candies, matchsticks, or be used to complete small transactions commonly used until the late 1980s, when newer coin series began to phase it out. By the early 1990s, the 10 centimo coin had very little real-world value due to inflation. It became more of a collector's item, especially for those interested in martial law-era memorabilia. While it is not rare, the 1970 to 10 centimo, the 197 to 10 centimo was part of the Filipino coinage series, the first official coin series to use Filipino national language instead of English. This was a strong symbol of post-colonial identity, coming decades after the country gained independence from the United States in 1946. The coin was minted under the Central Bank of the Philippines, established in 1949. During this period, the bank undertook reforms to stabilize the currency and localize coin production, which had previously been outsourced abroad. Choosing Apolinario Mabini, a hero known for honesty, sacrifice, and wisdom, was not accidental. His image served as a moral symbol in a time when national politics was becoming increasingly authoritarian. The government used his image to legitimize its power and remind citizens of patriotic duty. When President Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law in September 1972, the state gained full control over the economy. One aspect of this was tighter regulation of currency flow, coin production, and banking. Coins minted in 1972, including the 10 centimo, were part of a monetary system under centralized authority. The 10 centimo coin was made of aluminum, a cost-effective metal that the government chose during times of rising metal prices and limited coin budgets. Aluminum was also easy to mint in large numbers, though it lacked durability and quickly lost its shine in circulation. In 1972, 10 centimo coins were still widely used in rural towns and local wet markets. They were often used to practices. Most of the 1972 10 centimo coins were minted by the Royal Mint in the United Kingdom, as the Philippines had yet to fully develop its in-country minting capabilities. It wasn't until later years that the security plant complex in Quezon City would handle all minting locally. Public school teachers during the 1970s used actual coins, including the 10 centimo, to teach arithmetic and Filipino history. This helped children recognize national heroes like Mabini and understand currency value. By the mid-1970s, the government introduced 10 centimo has no variety, making it common. However, mint errors by the late 1970s and early 1980s, high inflation had eroded the 72. President Marcos declared martial law and later launched the Bagong Lipunan movement. This campaign sought to promote a new society characterized by discipline, unity, and economic reform. By the time the 1980 25 centimo coin was released, the Philippines was already deep into this new society narrative. Every aspect of governance, infrastructure, and even coinage was used as a vehicle to promote nationalistic ideals and centralized authority. The Ng Bagong Lipunan coin series was introduced in 1975 by the Central Bank of the Philippines, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. The obverse front of the 1980 25 centimo features the image of Juan Luna, one of the Philippines' most celebrated heroes. He was a renowned painter and patriot of the late 19th century who used art as a tool of resistance during Spanish colonial rule. The left-facing portrait of Juan Luna is engraved in the center. Inscription. The reverse side of the coin bears the following features: large bold 25 centimo, inscribed at the center. Just above or alongside the number is the slogan Ng Bagong Lipunan, echoing the government's political branding. Floral design. The 25 centimo denomination was essential for everyday small transactions like jeepney fares, small market goods, and sari-sari store items. Despite inflation, coins like these maintained practical value throughout the 1980s. In rural communities especially, the 25 centimo coin had significant purchasing power enough to buy a candy, newspaper sheet, or even a few pieces of produce. The 1980 25 centimo coin is more than a monetary tool. It's a historical artifact. Through its design and inscription, the government promoted themes of nationalism, heroism, and reform. It was a way to project a united Filipino identity aligned with the state's political narrative. The Engi Bagang Lipunan slogan stamped on the coin was a daily reminder to citizens of the ideological reforms being implemented. During the late 1970s and early 1980s, the Philippine economy was facing mounting foreign debt, inflation, and dependency on imports. Currency devaluation also became an issue. The minting of durable and cost-effective coins, like the 25 centimo, was part of broader monetary policies to stabilize and regulate currency in circulation. Today, the 1980 Philippine 25 centimo is considered a vintage collectible. Circulated coins. Some collectors prize it for its historical importance, unique design, and association with Juan Luna. The 1980 Philippine 25 centimo coin captures a moment in history when the country was undergoing tremendous transformation politically, economically, and culturally. It's a small but powerful symbol of an ambitious, controversial era. With Juan Luna's image and the Bagang Lipunan slogan, it reflects the aspirations, struggles, and identity of the Filipino people. During a time of great change, whether in a collector's, this coin was minted in 1980. Its design elements and choice of honoring national heroes, like Juan Luna, trace their origins back to the Spanish colonial period. During Spanish rule, Filipinos were not often featured on currency. It wasn't until independence movements of the late 19th century that local heroes, like Jose Rizal and Juan Luna, gained prominence. Thus, by 1980, showcasing Luna on the 25 centimo served as both symbolic resistance to colonization and national pride in Filipino identity, themes deeply rooted in centuries-old history. The Central Bank of the Philippines, BSP, was responsible for minting this coin. Established in 1949, the BSP had by the 1980s become deeply involved in reshaping Philippine coinage under President Marcos' directive. All coins of this period were produced under strict guidelines, promoting efficiency, durability, and national themes. The BSP worked with both local and foreign mints, especially when local facilities couldn't meet demand. The 1980 coin comes from a politically tense time. Under martial law 1972 to 1981, Marcos' regime was marked by censorship, curfews, military rule, and controlled economic programs. The coinage system was one area where the government expressed political narratives without words. Engi Bagang Lipunan printed on the coin wasn't just a motto, it was an ideological stamp promoting a tightly governed society, often at the expense of civil liberties. Coins like the 25 centimo were tools of daily propaganda, subtly reinforcing political authority. 1980, inflation was gradually weakening the value of the centimo. Although a 25 centimo coin could still buy some cheap goods, like a matchbox or piece of candy, its purchasing power was decreasing compared to earlier decades, when centavo coins were meaningful. The 1980s saw the beginning of the decline in the practical use of lower denominations. This would lead to many being phased out by the late 1990s and early 2000s. Juan Luna, the featured figure, was not randomly chosen. He was a painter whose masterpiece, Spoliarium, won international awards in Europe, a revolutionary connected to the propaganda movement alongside Jose Rizal and Marcelo H. del Pilar, a national hero. Despite a troubled personal life, he famously killed his wife in a jealous rage and was acquitted in Europe due to crimes of passion. His dual identity as both artist and activist made him an ideal symbol of creative nationalism during the Bagang Lipunan period. In everyday Filipino life, coins were kept in small cloth purses or passed quickly in market stalls. The 25 centimo coin, with its golden color and mid-size form, was familiar to most Filipinos. It was commonly used in jeepney fares, often needing exact change. During 1980, the world was seal replaced the older Central Bank of the Philippines, copper nickel to nickel-plated steel. The year 2000 marked a continuation of the switch to nickel-plated steel, which was cheaper and more corrosion-resistant than previous alloys, helping the government reduce minting costs. Symbolism of Jose Rizal. Rizal's image emphasizes values of education, nationalism, and freedom. His presence on the 1 piso coin reinforces the cultural significance of everyday money. Importance of the BSP seal. The new seal symbolized a more independent, globally engaged Philippine monetary policy crucial during the recovery from the 1997 Asian financial crisis. Economic climate in 2000. Under President Joseph Estrada, the country was navigating economic challenges and political instability. Coins like this became markers of stability during uncertainty. Mintage. Volume. The BSP produced millions of Piso coins in 2000, making it relatively common in circulation, but valuable in uncirculated or mint state condition. Circulation use. Widely used in public transport, markets, and daily purchases. The 1 Piso coin became a functional necessity for Filipinos in the early 2000s. Collectible status. Though common, errors, uncirculated pieces, or proof sets from this year are sought after by collectors. Known variants and errors. Some coins may show misaligned dies, weak strikes, or off-center errors, which can increase their value significantly. Symbol of national identity. With native heroes and updated government seals, the coin acted as a miniature billboard of Filipino pride and progress. Educational value. Many schools and history lessons use this coin to teach about Jose Rizal and the transformation of Philippine currency. Millennial coin. As a coin minted in the year 2000, it represents a millennial piece marking the Philippines' entry into the 21st century. Numismatic value. While circulated coins are generally worth economic growth for the Philippines, President Fidel V. Ramos focused on modernization and globalization, and there was a renewed sense of national identity. The 25 centimo coin issued in this era symbolized both economic progress and cultural pride. In 1995, this coin was part of everyday commerce and had purchasing power, especially for small items like candies or jeepney fare. However, due to inflation and currency evolution, it's no longer in active circulation. Today, the 1995 centimo coin is considered a minor collectible, especially in uncirculated or mint condition. Valued by numismatists for its part in the Flora and Fauna series, not very rare, but sentimental and historical for collectors of Philippine coins, events, and symbols of cultural significance. Each coin in the series carried a unique pairing of a Filipino hero and a species from the country's natural world. The inclusion of Juan Luna on the 25 centimo coin is deeply meaningful. He wasn't just a painter, he was a freedom fighter, diplomat, and intellectual. Luna was active during the propaganda movement, a peaceful campaign that aimed for political reform during Spanish colonization. He was one of the first Filipinos to gain international recognition in European art circles. His painting, Spoliarium, won a gold medal in Madrid in 1884, and it became a symbol of Filipino suffering and strength. Luna's presence on the coin is a reminder of Filipino resilience, talent, and national spirit. The Waling-waling banda sanderiana on the reverse side is endemic to Mindanao, specifically in the rainforests of Davao, Cotabato, and Zamboanga. Revered by indigenous tribes like the Bagobos, the orchid was considered sacred and used in rituals. By placing the Waling-waling on the coin, the BSP acknowledged the importance of preserving biodiversity, the indigenous cultural connection to native flora. The beauty and uniqueness of the Philippine ecosystem. The Waling-waling later became a symbol in efforts to promote environmental conservation and was proposed as the national flower alongside the SA and PAGUITA. In 1995, the Philippines was emerging from years of political instability and focusing on economic liberalization. Under the leadership of President Fidel V. Ramos, the government introduced, even if its face value was small, the coin remained essential to daily life, especially for low-income earners and commuters. The 1995 centimo coin was minted by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. It was mass-produced due to high demand for low-value currency in everyday transactions. The plain edge and brass composition were chosen for cost-effectiveness and durability, though the design remained mostly unchanged since the early 1990s. 1995 marked one of the last years the Flora and Fauna series was minted, as newer coin designs were planned in the background. Starting in 1995 and continuing into the early 2000s, the BSP began retiring the Flora and Fauna coins, introducing the improved Flora and Fauna series and later the new generation currency and GC coin series. In 2018, the 25 centimo denomination gradually lost practical use due to inflation. Its value was too small. Digital payments and rounding off practices decreased public usage and circulation. 1978 were used as everyday propaganda tools. Portrait. The coin features Jose Rizal, the national hero of the Philippines, known for his role in the country's fight for independence. Republica ng Pilipinas, Republic of the Philippines at the top. Jose acute. Rizal below the portrait. The year 1978 is also prominently displayed. Design. The reverse side bears the Philippine coat of arms and the inscription, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, Central Bank of the Philippines. Words, Ingi Bagong Lipunan surrounds the upper denomination. Large 1 piso, prominently shown. Composition, copper-nickel cupronickel, which is durable and resistant to corrosion. The Philippines was under martial law, with President Marcos exerting full control. The new society era pushed modernization, discipline, and infrastructure, but was also marked by human rights abuses and censorship. The coinage of this period, including the 1 piso 1978, reflected nationalism, central control, and the regime's identity. The 1978 1 piso coin was widely circulated and used in markets, jeepneys, sari-sari stores, and schools. It had real buying power, enough to purchase snacks, bus fare, or a school lunch. These coins were mass-produced, making them common in circulation at the time. However, uncirculated or proof versions are now harder to find and can fetch higher prices among collectors. Condition is key. A worn coin may only be worth Philippine peso 5, Philippine peso 10, but a mint state MS or brilliant, uncirculated coin can be worth Philippine peso 100, Philippine peso 300 or more. Proof coins and errors like misstrikes or double dies can command higher values in the thousands of pesos. Because of growing collector interest, some fakes exist. The phrase Angi Bagong Lipunan tells the story of a political period that reshaped Filipino society. This coin is used in classroom settings to teach students about martial law, coin design, and economic history. It's a gateway to discussing how money and politics intersect. The late 1980s and early 1990s, the central bank began replacing ABL coins with new designs after the fall of the Marcos regime in 1986. This makes the 1978 1 piso coin a relic of a bygone political era. It represents a unique period of authoritarian governance. 1978, the Philippines was deep in the martial law period, declared by President Ferdinand Marcos in 1972. This was a time of authoritarian rule, suspension of civil liberties, and state control over media, institutions, and even the economy. The coin's design and slogan were tools to reflect the government's ideology. Angi Bagong Lipunan, the new society, was the government's rebranding of the nation, aiming to show discipline, unity, and project the Philippines as a strong republic. Coins minted in this era, like the 1978 1 piso, carried this political slogan to subtly promote loyalty and nationalism under his rule. Jose Rizal on the obverse was a strategic choice. Rizal symbolized intellectual reform, nonviolent resistance, and national pride. The government used Rizal's face not just as a tribute, but as a reminder of Filipino identity. Ironically, Rizal stood for liberty, while the government during 1978 limited freedoms. The late 1970s saw rising prices and foreign debt in the Philippines. The peso was weakening, and the economy was heavily dependent on loans from international lenders. Coins like the 1 piso were being minted in large numbers, but inflation slowly reduced their actual value. The Central Bank of the Philippines, tasked with producing and regulating currency, pushed out millions of these 1 piso coins. They used copper-nickel because it was a cost-effective metal and lasted longer in circulation. The quality and consistency of coin minting during the Marcos era were considered relatively strong. 1978 1 piso was a high-value coin. With just 1 piso, you could buy it. This coin was minted domestically using updated machines modeled after U.S. designs. While the government promoted Angi Bagong Lipunan, many Filipinos resisted silently. Artists, students, and activists saw these coins as symbols of repression. For some, spending the 1 piso coin with Marcos' slogan was a painful reminder of lost freedoms. The 1980s and 1990s, as martial law ended, coins like the 19781 piso were kept by teachers and historians to teach young students about. Several Philippine museums, like the Bangko Central Coin Gallery, feature the 19781 piso coin as part of displays on the Marcos era. Coin evolutio. The 1978 1 Piso coin traces its roots to earlier reforms. In 1967, the Philippines